Hello and welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of Jersey Beach Volley Podcast. I'm your host, Rohan Chatella, and today we've got a very exciting guest, Christopher Fraser. On today's episode, we talk a little bit about Christopher's background, his childhood, how he got into the sport, and everything else going on in his life right now. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, everyone, welcome to the podcast. And today we've got a very exciting guest. We got Christopher Fraser. So, Chris, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Happy to be here in my spare time.
We know that Corona's got us locked down. So, where are you joining us from today?
So I'm joining from my apartment in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. So, right in the epicenter of the outbreak. I hope everything's good with you, the family, and everyone else.
Yeah, everything's pretty good. Me and Anastasia are pretty much on lockdown, and
Mhm.
we're in the corner of Brooklyn, closer to like Staten Island. So like we don't see any of the craziness. Um, Markets are still pretty open and fully stocked, so we kind of just pop in and out there. Of course, fully masked up and also the correct PPE just to keep us safe. And our families are doing very good. They're also on shutdown. Mama Dukes is she's a nurse, so she's actually still going into work. So kind of like worried about that, but she's safe, she's smart, she's been a nurse for a long time. So what can we do?
Mm, definitely. Definitely send out a huge shout out to Mama Dukes because she's doing important work and everyone in the community definitely appreciates that. So, thank you.
I shall thank Mama.
All right, so Chris, I guess today we have a pretty packed hour or so of content that I want to jump into. But before we get into the heavy hitting stuff, let's talk a little bit about early life. So if you don't mind sharing a couple of details about your childhood, where you're from, and just as a kid, what were you like?
All right. I guess as a kid, I would say, I guess I'll start with like kind of like my family dynamic. So maybe everyone doesn't notice, but I have two older sisters. We're all 2 years apart. So Chandra and Tanya, and my parents are very athletic, competitive orientated. So from the start, although you may not notice it, but looking back now, like everything we did was you know tethered together. So if Tanya was doing gymnastics, me and Chandra were doing gymnastics too, because you could only get one babysitter, so you're just basically beat. Me being the baby, I mean, I had to do like gymnastics, ballet, basically anything Tanya was doing, I had to do too. Same thing with Chandra, I was there too. So I've basically had a large exposure to across the board athletics. And with that being said, everything we did, we're all doing it together. So my dad was basically the drill sergeant. Love you, dad. And everything we did was like we would train together, we would play sports together, and my parents gave me a pretty good platform. They made us basically try everything. So I dabbled in baseball, basketball, tennis, like all of it, like basically everything but volleyball. Funny enough.
Okay. So then, out of those sports, which one was your favorite before you fell in love with volleyball?
So I have to say, so my dad was pretty gung ho in soccer. So he came from Jamaica. His twin brother, they played soccer at a pretty high level all the time. So all of us young growing up, I mean, I played soccer since I was about three. Me, Chandra, Tanya. So that was the main focus. That was like what I loved when I started playing for. Everything I did was based off of that. So like I would play, I would run, I would do track just to stay in shape for soccer, that kind of scenario. So I played soccer all the way up until college. You get your freedom, you make your own choices. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to play soccer anymore.
Hmm.
That didn't ring too well with everyone, but it was my choice, and I kind of like branched off from there. And I would say along that journey, I was about 15, 16, and found beach volleyball. I grew up in Lakewood, New Jersey, which is if you guys don't know where that is, it's actually like 15 minutes from Point Pleasant, and it's a fairly quick drive. And we had a park right in Lakewood that Tony was his name. He had a nice volleyball court set up, lights, everything, and that's basically the dojo where we found our
Mhm.
skills and honed our skills, and we found a good group, and then we just started to ball.
Okay, got it. So then tell me a little bit about who you looked up to as a kid. Who were some of your favorite sports icons and who'd you look up to?
So, and I like how you said sports icons, because I'm one of those rare few people that when I was younger I did watch a lot of sports, but I didn't particularly follow anything. So everyone says like, Michael Jordan was the man and all that fun stuff, but I really didn't dive into like professional heroes in sports. I would have to go with, if I had to choose, like watching volleyball, I'd probably have to say Dane Blanton, and that has nothing to do with because he's African American. It's
Mhm.
just the fire he brought. Loyola was the man. Like he just
Mhm.
basically, the style of play was like fire. I want to attack, I want to swing big, and I want to celebrate big. So that
Mhm.
was the main people I saw that were dominating at the time. They basically came out of nowhere, and they were just a force to be reckoned with.
Mhm. So then, okay, that's a great point that you bring up because if you didn't really watch sports too much, then where did you kind of develop your philosophies? Who'd you look up to then? Was it in books? Was it in other media platforms? What was it?
So actually, I would say philosophies of the sport. So I was, younger. I was just very raw and athletic. Basically, was like my thing. I could basically versatile. I can really do anything, and I had a sharp learning curve, so I could do it pretty fast. So I guess my best friend Nick Kitchen is the guy to start with. He was the brain. He was like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to train this. This is what we need to do. He would do all the research, and then he would basically, we would go together and we'd be like, okay, this we have to do. I read this book, this we have to do. So basically, I'd have to say, no one really knows Nick Kitchen, but like he basically started me on the path for like doing research and understanding the game, and then like what you need to do to win, how to get better. And that was basically my first beach volleyball partner. I played with him, all the way till I was like 21 or 22. And
Mhm.
if you guys want to check the record books, we did some work.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, I think that's a classic story, you find someone along that journey and you kind of fill each other's gaps and fill each other's knowledge holes. So that's awesome. What about let's shift a little bit into just childhood academics, school wise. What was your favorite subject and what kind of student were you?
So I'll take this one in two parts. The kind of student I was. So at first, because the other sport I didn't mention was it was like soccer, and also in the off season was I played a lot of basketball. And with playing a lot of basketball, I was hanging out with the basketball crew, and it wasn't cool to be smart back then. So all
I
you
don't know
really
if
had.
that's changed. I don't know if that's changed. I will tell you that.
I mean, I think it's changed. I think it's definitely changed because like that would be the ignorant standpoint. It's just like
Mhm.
you don't have to label yourself. It's like, if I don't want to go to class, that may be cool at the time, but now people are really thinking about their future. So it's like, I don't care. And then people easily just like walk away from negative environments. So like there's no reward from just, pretending to be dumb or being stupid. Knowledge is power. So
Yep.
if
I
you
agree.
look, and everyone in hindsight's 2020. So if you look back at it now, you're just like, man, I was doing a lot of stupid things. And like, how did you click out of that? And I have a pretty specific moment, like junior year, high school. I'm just thinking like, I'm athletic, I'm sports. I was not really doing the best things, hanging out with the basketball players. Not to say they were bad people, but like they weren't going to class. So I'm just like, wow, I have to get into college. I didn't really think about this. So I was probably like getting by, like a C plus student. I wouldn't do homework. And then my sisters, 2 years and 2 years apart, they're like studying hard, SATs. My sister got accepted to Temple, she went to Stockton. They all had their, pretty focused. And I'm just like, wow, I should really focus on my future. What am I going to stay home after high school? All these other friends are just, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're studying and they're doing good things. So basically, I went from like a C plus student to junior year, started reading, started doing homework, started applying myself, and then I was easily an A student. And all of it was just a matter of focus. It's just like my priorities shifted. I like stopped thinking about the cool things and then focused on like the future things. And I think that was just a click and my beginning of my junior year of high school.
Got it. That's a very important dynamic that you bring up because I mean, for anyone, all the younger listeners who are listening to this, if you're a junior or if you want to play in a collegiate sport, then obviously your academics matter. So obviously you want to be the best in your sport, but without the grades, it's not achievable. So that's a great point you bring up.
Yeah, and
And
to touch upon,
yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
to touch upon that too, it's like I mean, everyone that's the young juniors that are transitioning into playing sports, like you're still like they emphasize student athlete, and the smarter you are, the better you're going to be at your craft. So
Hmm.
I recommend like stay smart. It just makes your whole overall volleyball IQ better no matter what. So those two things are they mutually grow together.
Definitely. So for all you juniors who are locked down right now, and you guys are whether it's like a remote learning or whatever it is, make sure you take that stuff seriously because it will pay dividends down the road. So
Yeah.
my next question is
Mhm.
to kind of wrap up this segment with your early life. If you just tell us maybe your fondest memory or craziest story from growing up. Maybe it doesn't have to be crazy, but just what's your fondest memory from growing up?
Fondest or craziest?
Yeah.
There's two very separate things. But
It's I'll leave it up to you. You can decide.
all right, I'll give you a combo. So, growing up, so I mentioned that we're very, very big in soccer, and it was like we had very similar to like a volleyball family, your soccer family, the people you train with, you practice with, your families come close because you're all carpooling and whatnot. So this goes back from like a soccer memory. Every Sunday, we at Shenandoah Park in Lakewood, shout out, um, we had our soccer games, and since all of my sisters played, it's all a different time slot. So it actually could have been Saturdays. I think it was Saturdays. So like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, the night before, you get to bed, get up in the morning, and then you go to sports. So my best friend Nick Kitchen and my sister's age group, they played the games before since it's all in the same little park area. So we're the game right after the men's game. It's an intense game. We're playing against, I think Manchester is the rivals, and we're sitting there, we're cheering them on, we're getting all riled up, and it's an intense game. I think the score is like 2-2 late in the game, and it's been dirty slide tackles and a lot of people talking a lot of garbage. And it turns out someone gets slide tackled from behind. It gets up, someone throws a punch, and it's absolute melee. I'm talking everyone's yelling, parents are running onto the field. This is like an outright like gangs in New York brawl,
Oh my god.
like a bunch of like 16, 17 year olds parents are talking a lot of garbage or pushing other parents, and then we're just sitting there be like, what do we do, what do we do, what do we do? My dad's like, you guys step on that field, you're done. And our coach is holding us all back. But the memory of it's this one kid, Jonathan Story, is running. Like I literally remember watching him run around the field about 5 or 6 times of people chasing him because he was the person that threw the slide tackle. So the whole team, imagine this kid was fast as lightning, and he was just
Okay.
running, and all these people chasing him, punching. That was like one of like the most intense memories, vivid memories that I remember when I was younger. And with that being said, it's like the competitive spirit gone wrong. Like, and I flash back to the day all the time in my mind because it's just like,
Mm,
oh my god, how quickly things turn in such a competitive environment. And
mhm,
and I don't even remember that just popped up. That story just popped out of my mind right away of
mm.
just crazy. It's I don't know why I consider it a fond memory because it's like the first time I saw anything that crazy intense that happened in a nanosecond.
Gotcha. That's not like, that's a great story. I think it captures the essence of adrenaline. When you're filled with adrenaline like that, you just don't know what's going on, and things just unfold before you, and it's just madness,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. I think that's a perfect way to segue into talking a little bit about more volleyball, your career, and you mentioned a little bit about when you first got started. You had the dojo in Lakewood, but can we transition a little bit into when you started taking it seriously? Like, when was that time frame, and how you got into taking it super seriously?
So I would say the time frame of starting to take it serious was so we were those kids that we had high school volleyball, and this kind of paints the picture of like how we found our group and we kind of became competitive. So it was like me, Nick Kitchen, and then we were sophomores, and then we had upperclassmen that were my sister's age, and then they were playing volleyball in the gym. And I'm talking like this is like that old rinky dinky setup when you have the net stay connected and you roll it out onto the court, and then you have like the high level, the garbage level, then we call it the jungle ball net. So like
Mhm.
if you go on the jungle ball net, there's no volleyball. People are just absolutely terrible. And as it being like that, freedom to decide your own fate, our high school teachers were just like, you can play on any court you want. Um, so there's no real separation. So what we did was we just basically, anyone that was good, we let them come up, we try to kill them, and they wouldn't come up. So therefore, we were able to just play twos on our court. Um, I would say from that point, we started actually, like, we started playing volleyball. We had one coach that played on the national team, and he would play us 1-on-2 or 1-on-4.
Mm.
He gets 3 hits, and it was so demoralizing to always lose to this person. That's when it clicked. It's like, oh my god, we have to get better. I can't take 5 days a week going to the high school at 6 o'clock in the morning, getting beat by this old man, and he gets 3 hits. It's just the epitome of like demoralizing. And I think that
Mhm.
was the fuel for us to actually start taking serious and doing some research and like building on our skills.
Mhm.
With that being said, we did all those things, and we started basically slowly but surely. We started beating them. We learned our ball control because we had to. And I'm not talking like this is like, oh, friendly student coach. This person talked the most garbage I've known in my life. Like,
Mm.
what is that, boy? What's wrong with you? You're not going to get that. Oh, that's too easy. Oh, you guys got up early for this. Like every single time, he's like, "Uh oh, here comes the spike. Boom! Watch your face." It was fantastic,
Okay.
and that was the birth of us actually, being catapulted into, hey, we need to like figure out how come this guy is so much better than us, and that's when the research started, and then we basically played every day at 6 o'clock. They let us into the gym and we played every single day, six to homeroom, and then we even played during our lunch breaks. We had like
Wow.
45-minute lunches. We would run down to the gym, play for 45 minutes, and then if we could after school, we'd play. So 3 days a week, we'd at least play for 2 hours, like probably 6 hours total a day. And then that's when you just get, silky smooth with things. I mean,
Mhm.
as silky as you can at, that age.
Yeah.
And that
No.
transitions. And then once that happened in high school, we were just like, well, how do we keep playing? And at the time, JSVBA was the beach tour that was running tournaments very similar to Great American Volleyball now. And we were like, let's try out a tournament. We had no idea what our level was. I think our first tournament was double B, and yeah, double B, and we actually won that tournament our first time out.
Mm.
And at the time, that happens when you win that division, you have to move up to the next one, and that was the norm
And back.
of JSVBA, correct? And that's
Mhm.
kind of how we got the taste and the transition from high school to tournaments, basically.
Gotcha. So as a small aside, I know you mentioned that garbage talking was a huge influence when you were coming up. So are you an advocate of that? Because I know on the AVP now, it's definitely a lot more respectful, a lot of hugging, a lot of, just a lot more cordial behavior. Would you say that the AVP is missing a little bit of that?
I mean, I would say that you may think that there's not a lot of trash talking. Um, there's other ways to trash talk than being verbal. I think the
Hmm.
AVP is very competitive, and they're doing very good at filtering it. Like as you saw when they started miking up players on the court and in like their coaching boxes, like that didn't go very well. Flies were fining and whatnot, but like just like in like professional football and NFL, you think these guys aren't talking a lot of smack on the line? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, no, that makes
So
sense. That makes
so
sense.
so I think it's still there. A lot of trash talking, but it's at a respectable level. So like
Hmm.
it's not personal. People that take
Gotcha.
it personal are the people that implode externally or internally.
Yep, that makes sense. So then it sounds like you started taking it extremely seriously when you surrounded yourself with a group of like-minded individuals. So I think that's a perfect way for me to ask you my next question, which
Mhm.
is, what is East Coast Mafia?
All right. So The East Coast Mafia is, typically what you said, like a group of
I want
likely.
protection from you guys. I don't want to hit on me. I don't want any of that. All right. So just let it be known. I'm neutral.
You're neutral. It's okay. You can be neutral. It doesn't matter. But all I'm saying is, it's like a group of likely minded people, and actually, we're good enough to say is like, we're all boys.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of things that are missing from people being young is like, how many people do you know that can say you've known a group of guys for like more than 15 years? That like I've probably been to almost everyone's wedding or weddings to be. Like these are like my boys. It's
Hmm.
like we have some problems. We want to talk about volleyball. We want to talk other stuff. Like that's what the East Coast Mafia is. It's like we're a group of friends who excel at volleyball, athletics, and life. So like when you have a good positive group like that, um, it really helps. It's a positive environment, and like once again, you start having these little rules every like a club. It's like okay, to get into the club, you have to do this, all unsaid. But at some point, there's like some kind of unanimous decision. Is like, you know what? This person should be part of the mafia. He handles himself well. What can he bring to the table? And everyone has their own opinion, and basically
Hmm.
it comes down to a vote. Who the next candidate to come in? Who's been balling? Who's what? Who just had that really bad loss that they have to. Everything. It's like our own little Facebook.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So if it's a mafia, tell me who's the don of the mafia at this time?
The Godfather.
If you
The
can
go-
name names. I mean, if you can't, that's totally understandable too.
Nah, Eric Lucas. We call the Godfather,
Okay.
and basically it's just I would say like the heart. He's the heart. Like it's just like always level headed, calm, thinks things through. Like we have a couple of outliners that are always like, we have this thing we call like the hot stove report. That's like when
Hmm.
something pops up in the volleyball scene, it's like, I got a hot stove report or just hot stove
Hmm.
on a text message, and then you got to have three members of the mafia be say in. Once you have three that text in, then they hit you with either the gossip or the news that popped up, and it's usually volleyball related, but it's also life related too. Like it's
Hmm.
like hot stove. I heard Fraser got beat by Cronshaw and Slay, and it's like, man, give it more than 24 hours, boys.
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah,
like that. Like, and then from like our West Coast peeps right now, like Burek and Brandon Joyner, they're always like hot stove. Um, I heard that this partner is about to drop this partner for the AVP season, and like
yeah.
there's
Hmm.
also stuff like that. We also have another one called like the Scam Alert. It's like
Mm.
this one was actually started by the great late Eric Zahn, love you
Okay.
brother, and he was basically just like, hey, I got the next scam of the day. When he was traveling, living in a van, he had a lot of time, so he's like hot scam report, and they'd be like, hey, you guys got to try this. Like one of his big
Yeah.
scams, like he always when he was traveling a bunch, he always found a way to just big dog it and get into like United Airlines lounges for free. Hot.
Hmm.
He always had some kind of crazy thing going on, and then that filtered through like Chris Vaughn. He kept the torch going. You put them two together, they're freaking hilarious.
Chris Vaughn, Eric Zahn. I think there's probably some sort of requirement. Your names you have to rhyme. Is that what I'm getting at? Chatella
Yeah.
doesn't rhyme, so I don't know if I could be a part of it yet.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. We could just give a nickname to make it rhyme. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. In the spirit of Zahn, because he was definitely a fan of nicknames.
Yes,
But
that.
what about who? Okay, just to kind of rattle off some questions about East Coast Mafia. Who would you
Mhm.
say is the toughest competitor in East Coast Mafia?
Toughest competitor. I'd have to give that one to Burek.
Hmm.
He's he's been around the block. He knows what he's talking about, and there's some sort of click like between Burek, Shane Donahue, Eric Lucas. I would say the common trend on this group is that everyone's pretty friendly, but when it's game time, we're not friends. Nobody's
Yeah.
friends. We're out for blood. We keep it respectful, but like there's not one person that doesn't want to win. But Burek is cutthroat, cutthroat, cutthroat. That's it. That's all I can say. And
Gotcha. Who's the funniest?
I would say the funniest. All right, funniest on the court is going to be me. I'm definitely. I would say I'm definitely the jokester. Um, Vaughn is actually hilarious as well, but he has like a unique sense of humor. But he's also very hilarious. Shane gets in his moods. Like he could be like grumpy, not grumpy, but for the most part, he's like one of those steady, quiet guys.
Hmm.
But definitely, I'm the jokester. I'm definitely the 100 the jokester.
Okay, perfect. And then I guess my next question, you might have to take this one too. Who's the best dancer in the group? You said you went to a lot of weddings, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of people dance, but who's the best dancer?
I don't think anyone in the mafia would disagree that it is me.
Perfect.
Not not trying to like tote my horn, but they know.
I mean, I've seen it in person at AC Big Shots last year. I saw it live, and it was pretty dang good. I think someone has a video of it. You straight up disrespected that man with your
Yeah,
little crotch bump, and that was hilarious. I mean, I'll never forget it.
yeah, that's rough. That was Cameron Beans,
Yeah, he
unfortunately.
challenged you. You should have known
Yeah.
better.
Well, you know what? Me and Cam played in the tournament earlier that year. Earlier that year, yeah, I think it was Chicago. And Cam's a young buck, up and coming, and he's talking all this nonsense about how he's the best dancer and all this fun stuff. So at some point, that kind of like stayed in my mind for some reason because I was a little bummed out because that was like the first time in a long time that I didn't make it to Sunday. So
Hmm.
I was OTL, was off the leash, boozing. Every year the mafia we get a huge house and like that's like our end of year, like we drink Friday night, Saturday during the tournament, and then also Sunday. That's one requirement for big shots. We treat that as like we can all get together. We don't see each other often. We get the house and then we all rage. We didn't make
Mm.
it, so then Saturday night was like the real players party, and Cam came out there and he was doing his thing, and I was like, you know what? I had the right amount of inebriation going, and I was like, all right, he's gonna get it. And if you ask Sway, Sway calls that move the face nutter.
The
That
face nutter. I love it.
the move has a name, and it's called the face nutter. If that comes out, it's kind of like oh, Chris Fraser's he's loose.
Oh man, I think we need to find that video so just so people can see the extent of the damage that was done. This man had I don't know if he's recovered from that yet, but hopefully Cameron's doing okay.
Oh
Oh,
man,
so, no, thanks for sharing that.
no
How
problem.
about for the next segment? I just want to talk a little bit more about the game itself, and maybe my question is, what are some of your goals coming up for the season? If
Got you.
we
So
have a season, hopefully we have a season.
yeah, that's it's very unfortunate with the current status. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I think the volleyball community will bounce back, and we'll once the beach is open, we'll start having tournaments. It might not be the same, but volleyball will happen.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, every year basically, it's like come January, February, I have a basically I'm 38 years old, so I have like a pretty set regimen. It fluctuates a little bit, but it's pretty much basically the same. I try to like get tournament ready by February because as you said, like you got to be ready. The first things first is like I do a lot of cardio, do a lot of training. That's like fitness. We can get into it another time. But for the most part, it's just February is like it's crunch time. You stop drinking, you stop doing all the crazy stuff, stop eating garbage. Bulking season's over, and then you start getting some like purposeful practices, and you start thinking about your body and get your mind ready for the season. That's like February. A lot of people don't even that still play indoor. They start doing that in like May.
Hmm.
So like us being like East Coast, it's kind of like we don't have the luxury of having perfect weather where you can play outside in January. So we have to like be mentally fit and we have to be physically fit. And then I basically fly out to Florida um, early season to get a good barometer like what I need to work on, where my cardio is. So that's like how I check it. Like February 1st, that first weekend, I try to hit a dig the beach and that will let me know. Oh my gosh, that's the wake up call. That's like okay, yeah, cardio sucks. You're cramping,
Mhm.
after like pool play. And it's like, okay, there it is. Got to shut it down and get ready to ball.
Yep. Okay. So that's pretty much the yardstick there then. But I know you also mentioned because we're from the East Coast, it's not as always easy to get those reps. Did you ever feel like you were at a disadvantage being from the East Coast? And because when you go to the qualifiers, everyone says if you want to make it out or have any ounce of success, you pretty much have to move to SoCal. What's your thoughts on that?
So, all right. So I kind of have mixed feelings on that because, as you guys know or may not know, I've actually never gone to Cali, um, to train or practice. I've been lucky to have a group of people that are at the elevated level that like to play a lot, but they're still just it's still rough. If you have a solid training group that is of higher level players, you can still get a lot of gains that are good enough to get you through in qualifiers. I would
Hmm.
say the the talent pool is larger in California, but then you'll still have your niches. So like you'll still go out there, there'll be only six guys at high level in California training the exact same way, the exact same day to have their schedule. And then if you have that kind of background and group in New Jersey, then you won't feel any kind of difference. Um,
Mm.
but in the earlier years for me, we didn't have that, so like me being 38, there's a gap in I would say like a talent gap. There's like a 6 or 7 year gap of players. So like I'm old enough to know the older guys that are ballers, like BJ Soldano, Jake Elliott, you know, Ehor, all those ballers, Doug Emick, all those guys were like, I was like 18, 19, and they were like, 26, 27, and they were the ballers. And then like after they started phasing out, then there's like the next gap is like the people my age. So there's not that many people my age that are still balling. Like Billy Naroth
Hmm.
is older than me, but like there's not a lot of people my age that are ballers. The next person down for me is like Greg Hunter's era. Like Greg is like 5 or 6 years younger than me. So that little gap right there was a huge gap. Like Shane is also a lot younger. And like he was the first person to start coming up balling real hard. And it's like, all right, there's the next burst of talent to come up into volleyball. And then
Hmm.
now, as you see, if we keep going like 5 or 6 years, it's another 5 year gap. And
Yeah.
like, so how old are you?
I am 24 years young.
So 24 years young. So there's like that gap. So I would say 4 years, like 28, 29 year olds. Can you name anyone in that age group that's baller status?
I don't. I don't think I can.
Mhm. Yeah. But so I would do have like a testimony. Like I know Shane to get that level jump we call it. He leveled up. He did go out to Cali for I think he was out there for like maybe like 6 months. He went out there and he came back to New Jersey, and there was a noticeable jump in his game. He was faster and smoother. So we just called that he was just crisp. He wasn't making unforced errors. His ball control went through the roof. His athleticism was there, and that would be a good barometer of like if you did go out to Cali. But there has to be a lot of circumstances. He went out to Cali. He was training and he was balling. He was riding his little bike, mad miles to train at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then when it
Hmm.
came tournament time for like they have like their they didn't have like major tournaments, but if you go to like their regular like Gav, we'd say, there's a lot of
Hmm.
talent out there, and it was hard to even get like a good partner. He's like, I train with these bums in the morning, I beat them all down, and when it comes Saturday to play in a tournament, nobody wants to play with me. So like, there's still
Hmm.
like that gap, and there's still like that I would say that niche in volleyball where it's like, yeah, you kind of have to prove yourself to be down with our crew per se.
Yeah, there's definitely a pecking order to things. It's very top down, kind of hierarchical. As much of as a community as we are, there definitely still is that kind of rank order to it.
Yeah,
So
and I,
then, go ahead, continue your thought.
yeah. With that being said, and it's all like personality. So some people will be like, well, they're snobs. Like they don't let us play with them. But I mean, like we're not bad people. It's just like we're very specific who we train with. If you're not bringing anything to the table, then like why it's going to benefit you to come train with us because we're going to help you level up. But are we getting better? That would be
Mhm.
that's like the snobbish mentality, but like that's not our game plan is. It's just kind of like you need the talent pool. If you got something to bring, you can come. If you're trying
Mhm.
to get better, get to this level, and then obviously if you're doing things right, we're gonna bring you in.
Yep. Yeah. People shouldn't take it personally. It's not a personal insult. It's just everyone wants to play better and get better. So that's just how it works.
Exactly.
Cool. So then I guess since you got to spend a lot of time with the older guys and learn and be a student of the game while they were at their peak, what would you say is maybe one or two of the biggest principles that you've learned and you could share with us and any of the younger guests who are listening to really elevate their game?
I'd say do your homework. Honestly, do your homework. For anyone that's young and that's coming up, there's so much video, so much available for players to realize. But a lot of thing is like I think everyone needs to just be able to take a a snapshot of themselves. Like really, really look at yourself and be like,
Mhm.
okay, what am I good at? What am I bad at? What do I need to be? And then also take a look at of what you're doing to get better. If you're saying, oh man, I want to be really good at volleyball, and but like then you're half-assing in that training, you're showing up late, you're like, oh, I didn't get that because I'm lazy, or you're not listening. Like all those things are just like really small attitude adjustments that can help you absorb more things. It's like if you want to be a millionaire, like what are you going to do? You're going to keep buying nonsense stuff. You're not helping yourself. So I would say like if you're actually really committed, set up small goals and do the research of what you need to do and learn about the sport. Like if you have a volleyball cue, you'll know why, and that helps with your mechanics. So even though if you could be playing volleyball for 5 6 years, if you don't know why your footwork is the way it's supposed to be, or if you don't understand the game, then these are all things that like easily fix with a little bit of research. Like be
Mhm.
dedicated to your craft. Like no one's just going to hand it to you. Everybody that's good had to work their asses off to get good, and nothing's going to be handed to you.
Yep. No, that makes sense. So definitely take note of that, everyone who's listening. So I think then to wrap up this section, I'll kind of bounce back to my other last question from the first section.
Mhm.
What's your favorite memory or story from playing beach volleyball?
Hmm.
That's a tough
Hmm.
one, I know, but if you anything pops to mind.
Oh man, favorite story from playing volleyball. Ay 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 ay. Hmm. Man, I need a second for this one. There's like so many popping out. Um, all right, I guess this is like a good one, which kind of like it's kind of a combination. I would say I was playing a lot in the NVL tour, um, and at the time I was playing with Maddie Clayton, and it turns out that like in my younger years, if not people many know that I played a lot of beer pong. Um,
Mm,
So basically, like I would say professional beer pong because I made a ton of money doing it. So the season was coming up where it was end of season and NVL had like the top X amount players played in like a smaller draw tournament in Florida, and basically it's end of the season, like only the top teams get to play. So it turns out that weekend was the same weekend as a $10,000 beer pong tournament that I had locked in with a partner from California that was flying out to play. And I didn't know the dates were overlapping, so then I kind of did both. So what I did was I drove down to Virginia Beach. The tournament was in Virginia Beach. I drove
mhm,
down to Virginia Beach. I played in a prelim tournament that started on Thursday. Prelims did well with my partner, and then Friday was another side event. I think it was like a 6v6 tournament. I played in that, and then also I hydrated my ass off, and then I flew. I left my car in Virginia Beach. I flew to Florida to play Saturday morning in the volleyball tournament. Me and Maddie Killian did work. We did well. It was like a really really good tournament. And then after we got knocked out, we went really deep Saturday night. We're at the point where it's like 6 o'clock match. We're playing against Who were we playing? Petr Dabrowski and Martin Kaplan were playing against the those boys, the Czech boys. They were called. These guys were good,
Mm,
and we beat them. We would make it to Sunday, which means I'd have to cancel on my partner for flying back. We lost a nail biter. It went extra innings. It was pretty crazy. They actually had a great comeback and they beat us. So I got knocked out
mm,
at about 7:15. Um, Went to the players' party a little bit. Nothing too big, and then I flew home that night from Florida back to Virginia Beach to play in the tournament on Sunday.
wow, you're crazy.
And then that was done Sunday night, Monday morning. Drove back from Virginia Beach, New Jersey. So that was like probably like one of the most fun experiences ever. I survived somehow, and my I think my recovery was like 4 or 5 days straight. You know, sweating it off
Mhm.
at work and whatnot because nobody really knew any of this at work. It was like, oh, how was your weekend? My weekend was fantastic. You have no idea how my weekend was.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, you probably can't finish that whole story at the water cooler. You need to set up a couple of meetings for that. That's an entire
Yeah,
story.
yeah, basically, yeah. Oh my god, but that was
Oh,
one of the most epic times ever.
awesome. So you're a chemist, you play volleyball, you dance, you competitively played beer pong. There's really not that much you can't do, is it right?
I would say in my
Apple.
at my current young age of 38, I've had a lot of good things. I'm like pretty good at odd stuff, you know. And it turns out there happens to be money in all these odd things.
Hey, if it brings you happiness and joy, pursue it, right? That's the ultimate thing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild. Yeah.
So, just to wrap up, I guess I want to finish this out with a segment, and you get to choose if you want to do A, rapid fire, or B, are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Let's go with rapid fire.
Awesome. Okay, so on three, two, one. What song is stuck in your head right now?
Teenage dirtbag.
Favorite drink?
Captain and Coke.
Morning person or evening person?
Morning.
Do pineapples belong on pizza?
No.
Get off my show. Favorite vacation destination?
Jamaica.
Favorite comedian?
None.
High line, cutty, or 10-foot line bounce?
10-foot line bounce.
And last question. Are you ready?
Yep.
Did Carol Baskin kill her husband? And if that doesn't make sense to you, it's because you haven't watched Tiger King, and maybe you haven't.
I have not.
And I haven't either, but I thought that was a good question to ask.
uh,
maybe, maybe this then. Are you satisfied with the ending of Game of Thrones? Because I know you've seen that.
yes, I'm satisfied. I see why they did it. They had to do it that way.
Okay, fair. That might be a controversial answer, but it is an answer nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, haters are
So,
gonna
Chris,
haters are gonna hate. You know.
that's true. They have plenty of time to rewatch it and see how it made sense. But Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I gotta let you go soon, so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and I thought this was great.
No, absolutely fantastic. Thanks for reaching out. This is it's good. There's a lot of content, and like to see. Maybe I can come on again at some point.
Definitely, I'd love to have you back. So, Chris, thanks again, and hey, have a great rest of your day. All right,
All right, you too, brother.
take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.